Hey, welcome to the Commerce Hero Show. Today I'm joined by two good friends. We've got Peter Yap Blackschmier of Algentos, Peter or PJ as we affectionately refer to him. How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Awesome. And we've got Aryan Miedema, senior developer for Media CT. How's it going?
Fine. How are you?
Good, good, good. So you guys have a little conference that you're starting out in the Netherlands in Groningen. Is that I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, but how do you
Yeah.
say the name of the city?
Groningen.
Oh, Groningen. Okay, okay. That's
That's perfect.
pretty. Um so I wanted to talk a little bit about that and just catch up with you guys a little bit. So um so Mage Titans, Netherlands, first Mage Titans, and Mage Titans has been taking over the universe with lots of different events. And so what's the kind of the story behind that?
Are you?
Well, I've been to several already. To the ones in Manchester where it originates, and also to to Italy last year. And I think we both Peter Yap and I worked on Meet Magento a couple of years back, just as volunteers to help out the guys behind the event. And at one point we were talking about having an event in Groningen because we don't have enough events in Holland yet, and we came up with the idea
You
to.
have events in Holland. That's the problem.
Yeah, but we were looking for a Magento event that's not a commercial event like the Meet Magentos are, and then for example Magento Live, which is
Those dirty commercial events.
yeah, with merchants and that kind of stuff. No, just for the developers, and Mage Titans really has that. And yeah, we were thinking if it was possible to do something like that here in Holland, and we just started off and had a lot of great replies already. So
Nice.
yeah, then it started rolling.
I want to correct Arjen there. We do have enough events in Holland, but we don't have enough events in the Netherlands, which is a clear distinction. So that's why we felt we needed to organize something in Groningen, because there's a prolific Magento scene in Groningen. And every time there's an event in the Netherlands, we have to drive down to Holland. And we thought, well, what better way to repay them is to make the guys from Holland drive to Groningen.
There you go. Get back at them. Now, I think I know this has been explained to me in the past, but the difference between Holland and the Netherlands, break it down for me.
So Holland is 1/6 of the Netherlands. It's two provinces. We have 12 provinces. Two are called North Holland and South Holland, and those two together, that's Holland. Colloquially, it's known. The Netherlands is known as Holland mainly because Amsterdam is in Holland, but Holland itself is just a small part, area-wise, of the Netherlands. And we live in Groningen, which is the most northern province, and so that's not Holland, but it is the Netherlands.
Got it. Got it. Very concise explanation. I appreciate that.
Yeah, if people like it. There's this really cool YouTube video about the difference between Holland and the Netherlands.
Okay. Okay.
So you can look it up.
Give me the quick summary of the differences.
Well, it's what Peter Yap said, but then you also have the Caribbean, where we also have some areas like Curacao, Aruba.
Okay.
So it's quite big, and yeah, I think the video is like 5 or 6 minutes. So it's I think you should look at that one to get the.
Watch the video. It's funny.
Okay, we'll check that out. So you guys both are both Algentos Media CT. You guys are both based in Groningen.
Yep.
Okay, and I think PJ, I think you had I don't know what I'm remembering. I remember what's that site for remote digital nomads? I remember seeing you tweet with the guy. Is it Peter Levels about something he had posted best cities with the best internet speed or something like that? And I remember, I remember you replying to him something about Groningen?
I think I think it was about the average internet speed in the world, and then
Yeah.
I think Amsterdam was mentioned somewhere, but Groningen wasn't, even though Groningen has a higher internet speed on average than Amsterdam. So I called him out on that, and I think he added it to the list eventually. But
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. So you guys have one of the highest average internet speeds
yeah, yeah, in the world basically.
in the
But,
world. Is it the highest in the world?
it's not the highest. It's
Okay.
I think we're at least top 5. I don't know, maybe top 3 or something. But it's
That's awesome.
yeah, and it's pretty affordable as well, and so that's nice. That's a nice perk. Well, basically, it's the whole of the Netherlands. Just the average is a little bit higher here than it is in Amsterdam.
Right, right. That's really cool. And then I think I remember you, I don't know what it was. You were telling me something about the city, like it has a lot of alternative energy or something like that, like a lot of wind energy. Am I remembering that right? You were telling me a bunch of cool, basically talk about the city, talk about some of the cool things about the city.
Yeah, it's a relatively small city. We have about 200,000 inhabitants. Almost a half of that, well, not a half, but a third to a half of that are students. So we have 2 big universities here, which makes it a really compact, really densely populated, but very fun city. Yeah, what else is there to say? We have a pretty good IT scene. A lot of IT companies, a lot of startups here. Also, a lot of grown-ups. Yeah, there's a nice community because it's very small. You can pretty much walk from the one side to the other side of the city in an hour or so, I guess.
Gotcha.
But so by bike, everything is 20 minutes tops. So that's a nice. It's a nice city to live in because it's so compact and everything close together. And yeah, there's a great student vibe. One of the best features about Groningen is that we don't have closing times for bars and everything.
Oh, nice.
They usually close when the last person leaves, so that might be around 8 in the morning or something. So that's that. While I was a student here, I always thought that was one of the best things of the city.
Nice. Nice. Arjen, anything to add there?
Well, I have to add that I'm not living here, so I'm not really familiar with the city scene, actually, with closing times and stuff. But I live nearby, and yeah, I've been here during my period as a student, of course, and now I'm back, and it's really fun to be. And like Peter Jaap said, it's there's a lot of energy here, and I'm not talking windmills and stuff, but just a great vibe with a lot of students, but also startup grown-ups, that kind of stuff. So it's a really good mix of people from every
Walk of life.
Walk of life, exactly.
Nice. I don't know where I got that idea about wind energy or something. I thought
that's basically true. We have a lot of windmills here nearby. They're building windmill parks out on the sea a little bit, a few kilometers off the coast. There's a lot of sun energy parks being built with just solar panels. So yeah, that's, and we have a problem with gas. We have a lot of gas under in the earth in Groningen, and that's being pulled up by a gas company, and now it's causing earthquakes. So everybody is trying to step off the gas and be electric. So that causes a surge in electricity demand, which needs to be solved. So yeah, that's been going on.
Yeah. How bad are the earthquakes?
Well, compared to California, not
too bad. Okay.
But it's the biggest ones were about 3.5 on the Richter scale.
Okay.
So that's bad for the houses here because they're not built for it.
Right.
They need to be reinforced, and the government is now telling the Groningers that that's not going to happen. So it's a big political issue now as well.
Got it. That's interesting.
Let the earthquakes deter you from coming to Mage Titans, though. It's not that bad.
Don't worry about it. So you guys mentioned wanting to have like a developer only event, you've got these other kind of maybe business oriented or business and development track oriented conferences. What is it, Arjen, maybe starting with you, what is it that you like about a developer only event, where with a conference that has both tracks, you can have the developer track experience, but what is it that you like about, just a pure developer only event?
I think it's mostly equal minds. Meet Magento was a couple of weeks ago, a little over a week ago, and that's both merchant and developer. And you see a lot of developers there, but the sessions go up until a certain level, because it might also be something a merchant want to check, or an in-house developer who just started or whatever. And with developer only, you see that it's, we have one track and it's pure development. So you don't get any talk about SEO or and that kind of stuff. That's not really interesting for a developer.
Haven't you done a lot of talks on technical SEO though?
Yeah, I did. So I'm shooting my own foot.
Guilty.
No, but those talks were basically for merchants. The ones I gave here in Holland and in Spain. It was also on the merchant track, so that makes sense. But I know a lot of my colleagues who are working with Magento 1, but also starting to work with Magento 2 more and more. They're really looking into this more in-depth info on how to improve their own skills, and basically, mostly Magento 2. And I think an event as Mage Titans really makes that possible. The first time I was in Manchester, we were there with like 5 or 6 developers, and I was probably the only one who ever went to events before. And also my colleagues who were new to the scene, actually, they were really finding out how open the community, the developer community in Magento is. So I know one of the guys who actually asked somebody, I'm not sure who it was anymore, about a question, and in the end they started pair developing the issue.
Nice.
And that's the level I like about Mage Titans ID, and that's the thing I would really like to get into a tech city like Groningen.
Nice. PJ, anything Arjen missed there that you want to correct him on?
Yeah, not really. So it's what he says. It's just the Meet Magentos of the world that offer a certain baseline of tech talks. Quality-wise, they're all stellar. It's just that you can't really go into a lot of depth, because then you'll automatically lose a large part of the audience. So I think that's why Mage Titans fills a void where developers that find the talks at other conferences maybe a bit too basic. You can really go into depth and talk about actual implementation stuff instead of this should work kind of like this. And I think that
right.
it offers a better opportunity to learn than just a high overview of a certain functionality.
One thing to add to that, before we give the idea that we only want to reach out to experienced speakers and experienced developers to join the event, we're also looking for a lot of new developers and a lot of new speakers who never been on a stage before, so they can share their experience as well. I know a lot of colleagues, but also people in the international community who have a lot of knowledge but don't get on the podium to do their talk. They don't have this place. And I think Mage Titans, what I've seen in Manchester and in Milan, I know John Knowles talked in no, not Knowles, Hughes talked in Italy last year, and he had this really great talk on Bluefoot CMS. And it was the first time I met him, and it's great to see a guy like that step up and be more getting into the community more and more, and just with a talk. It was his first time, but he really did a great job. So you don't need to be experienced and be like Ben Marks, for example, who's almost living on the stage. to be at Mage Titans. So we're looking for this mix of new developers, experienced developers, and sharing the knowledge between them.
Nice. Well, this is probably a great time to start talking a little bit about some of the topics that you guys have planned out for the conference, or if there's any topics you're looking for people to speak on. What do you guys have? What do you guys got going?
Well, we haven't decided on a program yet because our CFP is still open. So if anyone wants to send in their talk, they can send in their paper proposal. But we're looking, right now the hot topics, get someone on PWA, maybe and or GraphQL, get people on CI/CD, whatever's out there. Maybe new features. Maybe somebody from Magento itself will come and announce 2.4 at Mage Titans Groningen. So it's not looking for a specific topic or just to put someone in. We're also looking for soft topics. Just a nice mix of different topics.
Yeah, it can be really great to get this topic in the list that you wouldn't expect there. I did a talk about my experience as a Magento 1 developer to get into Magento 2. It was not tech related at all, but sharing your knowledge and your experiences that could help somebody else. So if somebody comes up with a topic like that, it can be really useful for the entire day. So it's not like we really want a full day of PWA, or we really want to get somebody who talks about, Composer. It's not like we're looking for specific topics, just a nice mix throughout the day. So from the development, backend development, new speakers, experienced speakers, that would be, if we can achieve that, I think we did a great job.
As long as it's geared towards developers, then it has a place in Mage Titans. So, for example, how do you work in your agency as a developer, and what's your role, and what are your responsibilities? How far does that go? Or mental health or inclusivity. I know Rebecca and Sonia did talks about that. So that's more of the soft topics we're eager to see CFPs for.
Okay, awesome. So I probably should start with this, but what's the date and what's the time frame on CFPs? Where can people go to submit those?
The date is October 6th this year, and CFP ends. Let me check somewhere. I think it's end of June, so a few more weeks.
Okay.
Can you back me up on this?
I actually don't know. I'm really bad at dates.
I'll open the actual CFP. It's on magetitans.nl or grq.magetitans.com. Golf break forum.
Cool.
July 28th even, so 1.5 months left.
Okay, awesome.
A lot of time to get your CFP together.
Okay. And in terms, you were talking about like people, there's a fly flying around my room, which is going to distract me this whole time. You were talking about like people maybe that are getting started with speaking and things like that. Do you guys have slots for like lightning talks, like shorter format lightning talks, or what how long are the talks? Like what sort of the format, the structure?
Yeah, talks will probably be around. We didn't decide on a time frame yet, but I think it's pretty common to get it at 20 minutes and for lightning talk to be 10 minutes. I think that's also something we're going to use as a time frame. And yeah, depending on the talks, we could add like the lightning talks. I think lightning talks can be really useful for just some more low-level information, and well, it gives you something to talk about after the event on the after party.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I think we settled on 30 minutes, by the way.
Could also be.
It being a topic in one of our meetings, but I think we settled on 30 minutes.
Gotcha. And you guys just like literally right before we started, you guys just wrapped up a meeting, like a planning meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Just to get the venue down and get some sponsorships on board.
Nice. Okay. I gotta check that out. What are the sponsorship packages look like? Actually, let's figure this out right now.
Got the document. We just updated it. Our main sponsorship package is 5,000 euros.
Whoo!
Let's see, not that much.
Euros.
150 developers, Colin. That's your target audience.
That is. Although in Europe, nobody hires in Europe. That's the problem. Well, I'm working on it.
We're all looking for developers here in Europe, so that shouldn't be the issue.
What do you mean nobody hires?
That's what I hear. Well, through Commerce Hero, it's. I don't know exactly why. I don't know if it's a language thing or like I'm not in Europe thing or whatever. But like I've talked to a few people about hiring in the Netherlands, for example, but then nothing ends up happening. So, I don't know why that is. Probably because you guys do such a good job of getting together with various events and stuff like that.
Well, I know why it is. Why we don't do it, because we don't do remote. So our pool for developers is very small. But,
I think that's no. I think that's actually I think that's a maybe more of a common thing in the Netherlands, like not really doing as much remote, and like you said in Groningen, like there's such a large student population and things like that. You probably have a great kind of workflow for. I actually want to, because I've been thinking a lot lately about kind of the other side of because mostly we work with like placing senior developers and stuff like that. But I've been thinking recently, I've been getting interested in how to kind of place junior developers and how to train them and onboard them. So I want to pick your guys' brain a little bit on that maybe later. But sorry, I interrupted you when you were going through the sponsorship packages.
I just had it. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So our main headline sponsor package is 5,000. It's I can tell you the list of stuff that you get, but it's just a fairly standard package. The gold sponsor package, there is 3,000. There are 3 of those available. There's a silver sponsor package for 1,000. There are 3 available. And there are bronze packages. That's 2 available for 500. And we have 2 after party sponsor packages for 350 each.
Cool.
That's our sponsor document. If somebody is interested in sponsoring, then they can reach out to us through whatever medium. Commerce Hero, for example. And one thing we're trying to change for events is the goodie bag you get at every event.
The
printed out flyers that everybody throws away the minute trash bin.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're gonna experiment with no flyers and see how that works out. But so merchandise is allowed, little gifts and stuff, but no flyers or whatever for.
It's perfect
packages. So
yeah,
I'm curious to see how that will work out at the event itself.
That's a good idea, because that's the only thing anybody cares about is like cool swag.
Yeah, that's the stuff everybody grabs. I mean, when I was in Vegas this year, I was really as soon as I saw the Classy Llama, that was the first thing I was going for.
Right.
I think almost none of the flyers left the venue from my goodie bag.
Yeah. You don't like to just have a nice collection of flyers, just hold on to them.
Well, I need some cheap wallpapers. Maybe I could have used that. I wake up and the first thing you see is Magento flyers.
Yeah.
Not sure if my girlfriend would like that.
Nah. What kind of swag? Because I'm not sure if I've ever gotten like swag from like Media CT at Imagine or anything like that. What kind of swag do you guys usually do?
At this moment, we have stickers, of course, like everybody else.
Right.
And we also have mugs. I gave away some of those on Meet Magento. And since I brought home a lot of swag from Imagine, I think people at the office were starting to think about having more swag from Media City. So maybe the list will grow in a couple of months.
Nice.
So who knows what we're going to get on Mage Titans.
Nice.
And about the flyer thing, one of the things that Mage Titans also does, it's non-profit. And there's this llama getting into your screen now. Or what is it? Sheep?
It's a llama.
Llama.
The llama's here. Nice.
No, that's not. But we do have these water bottles, and we have a few of these.
That's a nice hat, dude. I would totally rock that.
Yeah.
Hat. I love it.
But we have to up our swag game a little bit, yeah. But our sponsors actually have to up their swag game.
Right.
One of the things about having no flyers is that Mage Titans is non-profit. So every euro we have after the event is done and everything is paid, it's going to be donated to an organization. That could be UNICEF, for example, to pick a big one, but we'll probably try to keep it a little bit more local. So we also thought, if we're going to donate money to charity, and we're going to allow a lot of people to throw away paper, which is actually just a tree, that doesn't really make sense. So no flyers, no paper will also help out with charity, with sustainability.
Now you're making it sound like we're trying to, make our ecological footprint a little bit smaller. But there are people coming in by plane, so
I know, but everything you can do, and I mean, people come in by planes, but people also throw away flyers. So why do you need the flyers then if it's only going to hurt?
Speaking of coming in by plane, we have a great little airport here in Groningen, so mostly you can fly on that. Actually, Len, who was also in our organizing team for Media City, he got on the plane, I think it was 2 weeks ago, from Groningen to London on a Wednesday evening. Then he went to the local meetup there to promote Mage Titans Groningen, and just to demonstrate that it was possible to get back there pretty quick, he flew back the next morning and was back at the office in the early morning. So
before lunch.
Londoners, it's pretty easy to get here.
Nice. What's how long does it take to fly there from London or maybe from some of the other major cities in Europe?
Well, from London, I think it's hour and a half, maybe.
Piece of cake.
It's like a bus with wings. It goes up, and before it reaches the max altitude, it already goes down again. So it's not that far.
Wait, how is that like a bus?
No, you're also on a bus for short trips, though.
Okay, gotcha. So you don't have like a hard requirement that everybody has to ride their bike to get there. Ride their bicycle.
You get plus points. Yeah.
Okay, so I know that you were really big into bicycles out there.
If you want to go on a bike from the airport to where the venue is, we can arrange a bike for you. No problem.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
It's a 45-minute bike ride. So it's actually when I flew to Meet Magento Stockholm, I flew from Groningen and I rode my bike there to the airport, and the guys there were like, I called them like, where do I put my bike? And what do you want to put your bike in? Like, I'm coming by bike. No, we don't have any biking spaces available. Like, what? That's crazy. And then they said, well, yeah, it's true, but you just, ring the doorbell and we'll let you park with the employee parking situation. So I just parked my bike there inside. Then a few days later, I came back and I got my bike again and drove home. And it was like the airport wasn't equipped for bike parking.
You're like, why? I don't get it. That's so funny. That's really cool. It's funny. I was talking to TJ recently, who was at Meet Magento Netherlands, and he was saying everybody rides their bike everywhere. And I was telling him that I remember hearing a story of somebody that went to like a business dinner, and then after the dinner was over, it was nighttime, and it was like raining outside, and she went, changed into her bike clothes, and rode her bike home at night in the rain after a business meeting. I
The
wish.
the the part about her changing to bike clothes seems a little bit.
That's exactly what TJ said. That's exactly what TJ said. He said nobody changes into bike clothes. And I was like, how is that? Like if you ride for 40 minutes, you get all sweaty. You don't change into.
It's not that hot in the Netherlands, so if you
Okay.
just keep a normal pace, then you're probably not going to get sweaty. So,
Okay. Got it. Got it.
although rain is annoying, but yeah, most people have a rain suit when they expect it's going to rain, or when you're going home, nobody bothers because you're going home anyway. So,
Right. Maybe that's what it was in the story. Maybe she put on a rain suit. Maybe
yeah,
it wasn't, but yeah, bike clothes. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's
Anyways, so actually I was curious, like, what do you guys think about like the unconference format? I've heard a lot of people that really enjoy that. I think there's one in Netherlands, one in Germany I've heard about on a few occasions. And what do you guys think about that format, and why did you guys decide to go with the Titans format?
well, because the Young Conference is already being done by Gicento, so and they do a great job. We sponsored it the past few years, so it's I think the German one was the original one, by the way, by Gicento. Then Sander and Guido took it to the Netherlands. But yeah, that's an awesome format. I really like it also because it's a weekend, so it's yeah, it's a bit longer and it's more chilled out. Usually you have like session, break, session, and with the unconference, it's there's a session, and oh wait, now we have 2 hour break, and then there's another
Let's
session.
go drink some beer for a couple hours, kind of a thing.
Yeah, so it's a lot more laid back. It's also pretty developer focused, but I think that's due to it being a weekend because yeah, usually it's just the developers that take off their that use their spare time to go to conferences. At least that's my experience. So yeah, yeah, I do like it. It's a great setup. I've been to every year we do it with the whole company at least once. So I think last year we went to Germany, the year before that two, and the year before that to the Netherlands with the whole company. That's a good way to yeah, bond with your colleagues and spend the weekend somewhere else.
Nice. What do you guys think about? Was recently, I think I was talking about in the context of Imagine, but somebody was asking about like what's the reasoning why an employer would want to send their developers to a conference? And I think actually it was more, it's sort of a dumb question in the context of this conference because the conference is so developer focused, but in the context of like a Meet Magento or an Imagine, where they can be pretty expensive conferences to go to. Why would you send your developers, especially if a lot of the material is recorded and they can see the the material afterwards, and stuff like that. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that within the context of other conferences or specifically for Titans. And also, I'm curious if you guys are planning to like record any of the content.
Yeah, I can take this one. Now I've been to Imagine this year for the first time. I've been to Meet Magento events, etc. And yeah, it's true that most talks are being recorded, so you could watch them while you're sitting at home. But in my opinion, the good part about an event always starts after the camera's off. I mean, when you start talking with the guys who were on stage to get more in depth, to talk with other developers, other agencies after the talks, or maybe during the talks if you don't want to attend one. I think that's the most valuable part of an event for me, to learn more about how people approach certain things to get more information. I mean, the first time I went to meet Magento Spain, I was together with Peter Jaap. And one morning we just sat down at a local coffee shop, pulled our laptops out and started. In the end, I think we had each other's laptop and were fixing each other's issues.
Nice.
I mean that's. I mean, within the company, you know your colleagues, you know their let's call it strengths and weaknesses, but there's more info behind those walls. I mean, behind in other companies. I mean, I'm really like into to talk with people about certain things, and I think that's the value of going to a conference instead of just watching the videos of the talks, because that's just the level everybody, or the information everybody gets, and after that it gets more interesting to know people, to get into the community, to get more in-depth info on certain issues you have with stuff. So yeah, that's I think that's the value of actually being there instead of just watching the videos.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
about us watching those video or recording, we haven't decided on that yet. Maybe we will, but yeah, it's not one of our focus points at this moment, for as far as I can.
Yeah,
say.
about recording it. I'm curious to how many people actually do watch recorded conferences, because I don't, and I know a lot of people don't, including my guys here, and that's also one of the reasons as an employer I like to go to conferences and take everybody along, and take a day off, a weekday, a usual normal working day, and go there with my guys, because it's not everybody who works in Magento spends their evenings, weekends, etc. on going through all the Magento content that is out there, and making sure that by taking people to a conference, you make sure that everybody at least once a year or twice a year gets in contact with information that's out there without having to spend their free time on it. And I think that makes it more makes it easier for employees to gain Magento knowledge outside of their direct work environment or their projects they're working on. Plus, you only usually watch the videos that really interest you, and when you're at the conference, you sometimes have to sit through, but also sometimes you sit in a talk that turns out to be really interesting, or gives you an angle you hadn't thought about, or introduces you to new technology you hadn't thought about. And I think that's also really worth something. Aside from the social aspect, where it's just not only a lot of fun, but also business-wise or as an employee as well, really good to meet people from other countries, from other companies, ask them questions, maybe fall back on them. I know I've definitely used the knowledge of people I met in the Magento scene concerning localization of a German store, of a French store, or whatever. You can just quickly hit somebody up like, hey, remember when we were hanging out there and there, we talked about this and this. Do you have some links or some info? And yeah, just having those connections in the Magento community really makes it easy to gather information when you need it from international Magento developers.
Yeah, totally. No, that's awesome. What's like a favorite moment? I mean, you guys have both shared moments from different conferences or meetups that have been valuable to you guys. But like, what's like if you can think of like a favorite moment from maybe a Mage Titans, or I mean, you guys have already shared multiple, but like, or some other event, maybe a really interesting connection that was made, or something you learned, or something that you were excited about. We'll start off with Arjen.
I can't name anything in particular, but yeah, I mean, on Twitter, you know a lot of people. For example, TJ, I followed him for quite a while on Twitter, never met him. And then at Imagine, I met him for the first time, and here in Holland for the second time. And last Meet Magento, my girlfriend came with me, and TJ's wife also came with him. And in the end, we ended up eating a lot of bitterballs and drinking lots of
I've
beer.
heard, I heard about the bitter balls.
with quite a big group, and that's I mean the social aspect is the thing that really makes this community different to me. People by their Twitter handle, and then at one point you find out that it's an actual person, and that's really really a cool thing. I had that for, as far as I know, every single event again, and that's nice.
Nice. Yeah, I remember when I met Colin Mullen for the first time. I think it was at the first Imagine that I went to. The guy that created Modman, and as well as a bunch of other stuff, Redis for M1 and a bunch of other stuff. And anyway, I met him, and then I was all like starstruck, and I told my friends, I was like, "You guys know Modman? this is the guy that created Modman." Anyway, and then we ended up talking for a long time, and it was just a lot of fun.
I ran into Ricciardo Tempesta from Mage Specialist at Meet Magento last week, and he came up to me like, "Hey, Peter, we hadn't met before. I just wanted to shake your hand." I was like, "We haven't met before? Are you sure? I feel like I know you." And he's like, "No, this is the first time we met." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. If I realized that, I would have come up to you earlier, but I just thought, oh, I'd speak to him later." It was so weird. It was, well, I had it a couple of times, but I was so sure I met him before in real life, and this was the first time. That's weird that you know somebody's voice because of all the MSI videos, all the
right.
demos. So you know his voice and you see his face, and you're so already pretty much well known with somebody, and then it turns out you hadn't even spoken in real life before. That's funny. That was a funny moment. But another one I remember was at Dev Paradise in Croatia, what Inchu organized 2 years ago, I think. We were in a restaurant. I think it was the last day before we were going out with Jisse, Guido, and Max Yekaternenko and Anton Krill, and we were just having lunch and talking about everything from Magento to architecture to the state of Ukraine at that point, and well, everything that goes along with it. And it was that was a really nice chat we had, where it went from a social thing to really in-depth Magento framework decisions they made, and it's really nice to pluck the brain of somebody who was there, who thought of it, and then you can make ask some questions about why did you do that, and why did you do this, and why on earth did you do less and not SAS, and that's nice. That was a good moment, and we had a lot of discussion about Ukraine as well, and yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome.
And I remember one night in Madrid where you and Phil where we met for the first time. And
was that the first time?
I think it was Imagine. I think that was the first time though.
Okay.
But
yeah, I'm having that same moment that you just described where I'm like, no, that couldn't have been the first time. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
The moment where Phil needed to find Croatia on a map and he couldn't.
That was a good one. Yeah. Wasn't he looking at Africa at one point?
I think so. Yeah.
This should be around here, right?
Oh man, that's funny. So dude, PJ, man, what have you been up to? I know I see you're like to me, dude, you're like the Tony Stark of the Magento community, the Iron Man, dude, because like you work on a ton of cool open source stuff, and also you like do stuff with like drones and robotics, and like you're always hacking away on something really cool. So what have you been up to lately?
I have too many hobbies and too little time. That's definitely true. Lately, we are with Algentos. We're building a chatbot platform for Magento, which will be released as a SaaS product, hopefully this year.
Really, that's cool.
So a plug-and-play Magento 2 chatbot, which can do a number of things out of the box, but stuff like recognize questions about shipments, order statuses, product info, stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Also with self-learning component in it, where the merchant can teach the bot to recognize certain questions or respond to with a canned response or with some really easy API calls to Magento itself. And we're supplementing that with custom work where we add in custom APIs or custom functionality to the chatbot. So I have a few guys working on it. I'm not working on it that much myself. We're building it in Laravel. I'm pretty much focused on Magento 2 now. But just to get familiar with the chatbot platform, which is built in Botman, created by Marcel Poichot, a really cool platform. Just building some nice, fun chatbots in my spare time, like a license plate recognition software, where you upload a photo of a license plate and then it will recognize the text and then retrieve all the information of the car, like catalog price and how many horsepower it has and stuff like that. So that's just things I've been dabbling with in my free time.
Are there government APIs in the Netherlands where you can get that information?
Yeah, if you put in a Dutch license plate, you can retrieve all kinds of information about the car itself and also some metadata about the owner, like gender, average age, like how many owners the car had, stuff like that.
Wow, man, you guys are so far ahead of us. It's disgusting. I think only the police have access to that data. That's really cool, man. With the chatbot, what do you think about? Because there's a couple of I want to say Fabian Spengler worked on a chatbot, maybe at a hackathon or something like that on Botman for M2. What are some of the other chatbot plays that are out there right now for Magento, and what are you guys doing differently?
Nothing substantial. That's why we recognize it as an opportunity. We have one launching customer that wanted to incorporate a chatbot, so from the get-go we implemented it as a generic solution, and then with custom stuff to be added on as a module or whatever. We're building it in Laravel Spark, which is an out-of-the-box SaaS product, which you are familiar with. It's great stuff. So what are we doing differently? Not that much. It's just that we wrap it in one platform and make it really easy for the end user to be able to train the bot. So you can basically, you know what an intent is with a bot?
Yeah.
A bucket of data basically that tells the bot, if you recognize anything with these sentences, then the user probably means this, and then you can do that. And what we do in the bot platform is, so a customer service employee signs in the morning and sees all the questions that has been asked in the previous, 12 hours, let's say, that aren't recognized by the bot, and then they can click on it, and then they can say, okay, this belongs to this intent, where, for example, somebody says, yo, package, ? And then they can click on it and say, okay, this belongs to the shipment intent. And then you can go into the shipment conversation to ask, what do you want to know? Do you want to know about your last order, or click the order you want to have the information about? So it's very fine-grained, but also very specific questions or solutions we want to solve. And one of the great things about our platform, which I haven't seen yet anywhere else, is where the bot doesn't know. And so we have a fail quick strategy, where if the bot doesn't know, he'll immediately say, I don't know it. Or if he's not 100% sure, then he says, I don't know it. Do you want to talk to a human? And then we actually close the Botman web chat, and then we open up Zendesk or Live Chat Anchor, some chat tool, thereby switching to a human processor. So if we can eliminate like 20% of the questions being asked to a human customer service employee, then we can eliminate 20% of the customer service employees, which is obviously worth a lot to any merchant out there. So that's our
And is that a merchant that is already doing live chat manually, and you're helping them to just streamline an existing workflow?
That's our main focus, because those customers also know which questions their employees get.
Exactly.
Automated best. So that's where the most quick wins are.
Nice. Arjen, what are you working on lately?
I've been on the how do you call it, contact part of the agency for quite a while, and since a couple of months I'm back at full-time development.
When you say contact part, what do you mean by that?
A client contact.
Okay, gotcha.
Planning stuff, talking about opportunities, talking about priorities, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think since half a year or something, I'm fully back at development, and so getting up to speed with Magento 2 is my main focus at this point. At this point in time, and trying to make some awesome stuff. Nothing in particular. I'm having some plans on maybe a community project, which is still really vague. So maybe it will never get off at all. But well, the idea is there, and well, that takes most of my spare time at this moment.
Cool.
And way too much stuff back at home.
Yeah. That's an interesting use case because you've been doing M1 for quite a while. You're a pretty smart guy, and you're about 6 months into Magento 2 learning curve, or
well, I did some Magento 2
before that.
That's just we have this really easy question on Magento 2. Can you look into it? And then it's mostly my Magento 1 knowledge that solves the issue, and not my Magento 2 knowledge.
Okay.
And so I'm more and more getting to Magento 2. Still doing a lot of Magento 1 though, but I tried the professional developer exam at Imagine. I just failed the test, so that gave me some good vibes to continue with it.
Right. I've heard that one is really hard, man. Like I've heard from so many.
I think last week one of my colleagues took it, who had done a lot of backend development in Magento 1 and also Magento 2, and he also failed. So it's a quite hard one if you compare it to the Magento 2, the Magento 1 exams.
Yeah. What's that, PJ?
I said I was very afraid to take it. I am very afraid to take it.
All right.
I'm working through Mage 2 TV from V9 now, just to get on with the UI component part, because that's the part where I, as a backender, don't really touch. Although I've already done a ton of stuff with it, but it's pretty out there. So I'm working through the Mage TV series, and after that, I hope I am proficient enough to take the exam, but I'm very scared of it.
Yeah.
I'm refactoring a lot of Magento 1 extensions to Magento 2 just to get to know to get the hand on how stuff is done in Magento 1, which is, well, with a lot of years experience, easy peasy. But then at Magento 2, it's all really different and complex.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm getting a little feedback. Oh no, it's gone now. What are you guys? Have you guys been able to? Your company's been able to? Vinay's in the chat, by the way. He said, "Mage 2 TV for the win." Thank you, Vinay, for Mage 2 TV. It's a huge resource for the community. What was I going to say? Oh, as far as contribution goes, have you guys or your teams been able to contribute to the core? How are you finding that process to be?
I personally did one pull request which was approved, and I tried to do something on a contribution day, and I started off with installing Magento 2 and found a bug in the installer, and that's as far as I got. So not much I did there, but I do know that a lot of my colleagues are doing a pretty good job on contributing while developing Magento 2 shops. So they find an issue, they instantly create a fix for it, and then put it out there on the GitHub. Yeah, well, they're not going to. What a lot of my colleagues did in Magento 1 is try to bash Magento, which we probably still do for Magento 2 if a bug comes up. But they asked for the support channel and waited for a fix until it was given by Magento. And now I see that a lot of them are just going to fix it themselves and then create a pull request to the Magento repository. So that's I think we did some pull requests over the past year and a half, I think. And I think it will be something we keep on doing as long as we're developing shops. You find issues, so why
Cool.
not fix them?
Yeah. PJ, how is that going for you guys?
Yeah, pretty much the same. When we run into a bug and we know the fix, then we'll do a PR for it. I have to say that lately, a lot of bugs I run into are already on GitHub, and sometimes there's even already a fix for it. So then we just roll a composer patch and then be done with it. But yeah, I've done a bunch of PRs for various stuff. The only thing that really gets me while creating a PR, and sometimes it takes a while because then you create a fix and you're excited, and you push the PR online, and then Mage Encom comes around and say, hey, we need a test for this as well. And then I'm like, yeah, but I have other stuff to do first. And then, it kind of gets down the list. And then eventually a month later, I create the test for it, or somebody else does. And then it's finally merged. So it would be an idea for the Mage Encom to actually write the tests themselves for PRs that are submitted without tests, because sometimes I find a solution for something that just doesn't have a test, and it's already been up there for a month or two or something, and it's not merged. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to process and control.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how in your development workflow, like you're doing a client project and you got to get something out the door. It's one level of overhead to just write the PR in the first place, and then you got to patch it locally or something like that for your project. But then to also take the additional step of overhead to write the test, if they could find a way to support that. Of course, they've already got, I want to say, is it 10 people now on Engcom, and so I'm sure that they're having a hard time keeping up with the workload. So a little bit of a tricky problem to solve.
Write the test first, but yeah,
Yeah. Do you guys have I was talking to Oscar with i4 about how they patch their local copy in order to kind of have the problem solved for their client project in parallel while they wait for the PR to get resolved. Do you guys use, I think he said there's some tool called C1 Patcher or something like that. Is that what you guys use?
Yeah, that's the C-Wagon's composer patcher.
Okay.
You just define a composer.patches JSON file, and you put in the Magento module name and then the path to the patch, which is just a patch file. Get it from GitHub by adding .patch to the URL. There's also one by, God bless you. There's also another one by James Cowie that also takes the soupy SH files and runs them. So that's more for Magento 1, but that's also a nice addition. And there's one by Vimo, which I hadn't tested yet, but that one also takes in version constraints into mind. So that's because sometimes you patch something and then Magento upgrades to a new version, and then the patch doesn't apply anymore because there's a new version with the fix already in it. So the Vimo one allows you to define a version up until the patch is applied. And when Magento 2.2.5 or something is released, then the patch doesn't apply anymore because you know it's already in 2.2.5. So that's a nice touch. But there are several.
Yeah, I think Oscar was saying that they have a way of doing that where they tag the patch to a version number, and then once you upgrade to a new version number, it doesn't use it anymore, something like that. Well, cool. I want to just be totally selfish and ask a question for myself here, which is on that topic of hiring and onboarding kind of junior developers, which is something I'm kind of thinking a lot about now. You mentioned, PJ, that there's this big student population there, and I'm guessing you guys might have dealt with this. You have a really great team, and I'm curious, do you guys hire junior developers? Like, what does your onboarding process look like? What if you do hire juniors, like what level of junior could anywhere from no programming experience at all to like, maybe a couple of years. What type of developers do you maybe hire in that category? How quickly are they able to get up to speed, and what does that process look like for you?
Yeah, there isn't really a formalized process there. Usually we get interns, and then when they are great, then we try to hire them. Sometimes we hire just juniors straight out of university. We try to have a one-on-one, like a one junior for one senior. So we always have one person that's looking out for the junior developer. Obviously, at one point that doesn't scale anymore, but we try to do it. And Magento isn't particularly well known. So what we try to do is to onboard them or lure them with Laravel-based projects, which we also do a lot. So
you like gradually, first you get them into PHP with Laravel, and then you just gradually.
At the local university, they use Laravel a lot. So, and we build a lot of microservices for Magento 2 in Laravel, like an order management system or image generation microservices or stuff like that. Little tools to ease the product enrichment, all kinds of stuff we build in Laravel. So we get them in on Laravel, and then they obviously work with Magento because they're all Magento geared microservices, and they gradually move onto Magento. And I think it's more of an image problem that they don't think e-commerce is sexy, and Laravel for some reason is, or app development is, and then we get them on board, and then they see that e-commerce is a lot of fun as well and can be sexy.
That's
as well.
really interesting.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. I love that. And how quickly, like how many months, say, and I'm sure it varies, but just maybe some data points from your experience. How many months does it take, or years, for them to go from, let's say right out of university, doing some Laravel stuff, to the point where, let's say that, you can throw them onto a Magento project, and they'll basically get things done, and as an employer you're not like losing money on them, that kind of a thing?
Yeah, I'd say about 6 months. Yeah, sometimes 3 months. It became a lot easier with Magento 2 because it has a modern PHP system, so you don't have to explain them dependency injection or that stuff anymore, as opposed to a Magento 1 developer that never did any other platform than Magento 1. You have to teach them a bunch of things, and these recent university graduates usually work with Laravel, are used to Composer, used to DI, so that the onboarding is a little bit less. But on the other hand, there's no Magento experience, so that's it differs.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. Arjen, any what's it like for you guys?
I know we hire, I mean, the senior developers are mostly on their are already taken. So I know we have 3 teams within the company, 3 development teams, and I'm in a team where we hired 2 new Magento developers, experienced with PHP but not with Magento. And you see that it requires time to get to know Magento, especially Magento 2. But I heard a lot that when we were looking into Magento 1 code, that these new guys who only work with Magento 2 really asked us how the beep we could ever work with Magento 1 in that code base. And yeah, I think some of these junior developers are way ahead of me on Magento 2. So I think there's also a big challenge for developers who work with Magento 1 for quite a while, to get up to speed with Magento 2, because that might even be more difficult than when you come from Laravel and start working with Magento 2.
Right. Yeah. I'm hearing that a lot. Awesome. Well, thanks. That was helpful feedback. I know we're a little bit over time. Anything else that we haven't touched on yet before we get ready to wrap up?
Did we talk about Mage Titans?
Still haven't heard whether you want to sponsor or not. It's only okay.
That's
I'll
that.
send you the sponsor deck.
Okay, send me the sponsor deck. You said you have 150 people signed up to go already?
No. We're that
That's
never
the
happened.
target.
That's the target, and I'm confident we're going to reach that, but it always comes in the last month or so.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Awesome. Send me that sponsor deck. I will take a look at it. And thanks again, you guys, for jumping on. Really appreciate it. It was good to chat. Where can people find you guys online? Where can people find out more about Mage Titans?
MageTitans.nl, and that will refer you to grq.magetitans.com. GRQ is the airport code for Groningen.
Got it.
And on Twitter, MageTitansNL, and me on Twitter on @PeterJaap, and Arjen on @ArjenMiedema.
_NL.
_
Miedema was taken.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. And thanks everybody for tuning in. What's that?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. It was good to catch up. And thanks everybody for tuning in. We will see you again tomorrow.